Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to today's reading lesson. We are going to be talking about illustrations again. So before we get started, let's go ahead and go over that I can statement. I can use illustrations and details in a story to describe characters, setting, or events. Okay, so yesterday's lesson, we talked about describing the setting, right? So today, when we're talking about illustrations, we're actually going to be describing the events. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Okay, before we get started with our anchor chart review and reading our story, we are going to go over those sight words again. Now, these are review sight words. I want you to say them with me, and if you can, think of your own sentence to go along with these words. What word is this? Go ahead, say it. That's right, this word is number, okay? So what could be a sentence you could say for number? A sentence I would say is, my favorite number is 12. What's this word? That's right, this word is people, okay? So there are many people in our school. That could be a good sentence for people. What's this word? That's right, this word is made, okay? What sentence could you use for the word made? Something I could say is, I made brownies last night. What word is this? That's right, this is the word wear, okay? What is a sentence you could use for wear? Where are my socks? That is a sentence you could use. What is this word? That's right, this is the word bin, okay? What is a sentence you could use for bin? Have you ever been to the beach? Right? Been. Great job. Remember, those are review words. So you've already learned these words, but these are review words. So keep up the amazing work. Super proud of all of you. Alrighty, so now let's go ahead and get started and let's talk about illustrations. Okay? Illustrations, right? Those are the pictures in the story. That's what they draw, okay? Look at the pictures for clues. Remember that magnifying glass? You're looking for clues to better understand story events. Okay, so as you can see here, I actually use illustrations from our story Tuesday that we read yesterday. So this is the first illustration I did, which is at the beginning of the story, where the turtle's like, what are they doing? Because the frogs are flying up in the sky, right? And it's nighttime. And then this is the other illustration I did, and it's when they're flying over town, and remember, they run into the laundry, and the frog kind of becomes a superhero because he has the laundry tied around his neck. But those are illustrations. So actually today what we're going to read is we're going to go back and reread the picture book Tuesday and then do a little activity with it about events. So what we want to think about today is beginning, middle, and end. We want to think about what happened first, next, then, and then finally, okay? So we want to know what happens throughout the order of the story. So what's going on throughout the story? What are the events that are taking place throughout the story, okay? And we're going to do it together. Tuesday by David Weisner. Tuesday evening around 8. So the sun is setting, right? It's becoming nighttime. Whoa, boy, what's happening at the beginning of the story? The frogs take flight, right? They're flying on their lily pads, and the turtle's like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And they're in like a swamp or a pond, right? Then they start to fly right towards a town, right? You can see the buildings in the background. It's nighttime because of the moon. They're having a blast, aren't they? Look at them. They're chasing crows and everything. They're starting to approach that town. 11:21 p.m. People are starting to notice what's going on. Uh-oh. What's going on now? They flew too close to the ground. They're running into laundry. Look at him. He got hung up on the line. He lost his lily pad. What's going on now in the story? What's happening next? They're flying into houses, right? They're going in through chimneys and windows. They're watching TV with the old lady who fell asleep, right? Flipping through the channels, just floating next to her, no big deal. 4:38 a.m. They run into a backyard, right? Uh-oh. Dog's chasing after them. Oh, now they're chasing after the dog. Then what started to happen? Uh-oh, the sun is starting to rise. You can kind of see the light in the background, right? It's not as dark anymore. The sun's starting to rise, and they're starting to fall off their lily pads, right? The lily pads aren't flying anymore. Now it's daytime, right? They're back at the pond or the swamp, and they're pretty upset, aren't they? Because they wanted to be flying. The townspeople, they're all kind of confused. Why are there lily pads everywhere? There's people telling them that they saw frogs flying in the air. If you're the only person who saw frogs flying in the air, do you think people would believe you? Finally, next Tuesday at 7:58 p.m. Oh my goodness, what's going on? The pigs started to fly, right? The following Tuesday. This Tuesdays must be special. Oh my goodness. So this is our book Tuesday, okay? We are going to do an activity together. And like I've been doing all week, I actually have to move you to another part of my classroom. So I'm taking you on a little trip. But while I'm doing that, I would like you to get your notebook and a pencil. I'm going to turn off my lights. I'm going to pop on my smartboard, and I'm going to head on over, okay? So get out your notebook and a pencil, all right? I apologize. I do got to move ya. Okay, so what we're talking about here is we're talking about the events. So kind of similar to what we did yesterday, but we talked about the setting. So this time I want you to divide your paper in half. So just draw a line down the middle. On one side, we're going to illustrate an event, and on the other side, we're going to write words that describe that event. So an event I would like to illustrate is actually this event right here. So remember, this took place at the beginning of the story, okay? So what is going on in this illustration? We're going to draw a quick sketch. That's what I call them. Remember, I'm not an amazing drawer or painter or anything of that nature. So we just kind of draw the basics, but we get the point across, right? So we're going to draw this illustration to talk about what's going on in this illustration. Okay, so make sure that you have a pencil or your notebook, that you divided your book in half, and we're going to illustrate this event. So There's like a pond, right? The turtle's sitting here, right? And he's kind of like, what in holy moly, right? He's like, oh my goodness, that's why his mouth is open. There's like these little spindly guys, right? The frogs are starting to fly up on the lily pads, right? So, I messed up his face. Oh well. Nobody's perfect. All right. Okay. They're happy, not sad. Sorry. Nighttime again, right? So we know this happened in the beginning, right? If we were describing this event. So if you need to finish drawing, you can always pause the video and then come back when you finish drawing. So that's okay. But this was at the beginning of the story, right? If we're describing what's going on, it's early night, right? Or you could say early evening, because it's not late nighttime yet. Frogs on lily pads. Frogs flying or hovering. And then you could say turtle is shocked. And I think he's a little scared. And scared. So take your time, but that's how I would describe that. Did you notice how I used a lot of detail? So I talked about that it was at the beginning of the story, okay? It was early evening, right? There were frogs on lily pads, so there were a variety of frogs on lily pads. The frogs were flying, okay? So they were flying in the air. Remember, it's not just the frogs flying. They're on the lily pads. And then towards the end of the story, remember the lily pads started to drop. So the frogs started to drop. So I really think it's the lily pads that are lifting up the frogs, letting them hover or fly around town. So the frogs are flying. And then the turtle, he has his mouth open because he's like, oh, right? He's like, oh my goodness, what is going on? So he's shocked. And I think he's a little bit scared. So look at him here. If you look at the turtle here, oops, sorry. If you look at him here, he's kind of like freaking out a little bit. He's kind of actually going back under his shell because he's like, oh my goodness, what is going on? So that is how I would illustrate an event and describe an event. So for your seesaw activity today, what you're going to do is you are going to have an illustration. Again, kind of just like yesterday. If you need to, you can come back and rewatch this lesson or watch the video read aloud of Tuesday. I believe my lesson actually goes over what's in the pictures, so that might help you. But there's going to be an illustration actually from Tuesday, and you're going to tap that microphone and you're going to tell me what's going on in that picture. So I want you to use a lot of detail in your picture. Don't just say, oh, it's Tuesday night, frogs are flying. I want to know what's going on specifically. Use lots of details about what is going on in that picture. And just keep telling me about what's going on in that picture. And since you're tapping the microphone, when you tap the microphone, you should still see the picture. So it's not like you're recording a video. You should still be able to see the picture whenever you tap the microphone to record your voice, okay? So I want to hear you recording yourself describing what's going on in the illustration that's on your seesaw activity. Thank you so much for joining me. I had a marvelous time, and I will see you next time. Have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye.